So one guy who is, and he actually did play well last night, but one of the issues is as we look at this roster, and I'm not picking on him specifically, but just the inconsistency of some of these guys out here. DeAndre Hunter last night played well. He led them in plus minus, had 21 points. He was 8 for 17 from the field. He was 1 for 5 from 3, but he was 4 for 4 from the free throw line, 21 points and 7 rebounds. But let me give you DeAndre Hunter's numbers here. Just from the standpoint of the consistently inconsistent nature of some of these guys, okay? If I told you that DeAndre Hunter had 4 20-point games in his last 6, on the surface of everything, that sounds like it's pretty good, right? 4 20-point games. But this is the way that it's rolled, okay? So start with the game in Utah, right? They played Friday night in Utah, Saturday in Denver, okay? So on that Friday night, they won in Utah. DeAndre Hunter had 26 points, 3 assists, and 4 rebounds. Then he comes the next night, and they're in Denver. Obviously, a tough place to play. They probably weren't going to win that game, but he goes for 20 points, 4 assists, and 3 boards in that game. Then you get back home, then you go to New Orleans before you get back home, okay? And he drops an 0 for 9. The only 3 points that he scored were the 3 free throws that he made. 0 for 9 in New Orleans. Then you come home and you play Phoenix, and he's 4 for 12, 1 of 5 from 3, 9 points in the game. Then the San Antonio Spurs, 24 points, 3 boards or 3 assists, a board. And then you play last night, 21 points, 7 rebounds. So you go 2020, 3-9, 2020. And when we talk about this roster and we talk about the inconsistent nature night in, night out from the Atlanta Hawks, DeAndre Hunter is really one of the poster childs of that. You know, he's got these good moments, and then it bottoms out, and then we get back to some good moments. It looks like my stock portfolio right now. Like, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's here, it's there. I make a few bucks one day, I bottom out the next day. I get a couple of bucks here, and then we just bottom out again. Literally, it's maddening. And again, I don't know if Nate McMillan is 100% of the problem, but certainly when you look at this team and this roster, there's just not something coming together. They consistently can't get performances from their top guys. And I'm just talking about even Trae Young is inconsistent. John Collins is wildly inconsistent. DeAndre Hunter is wildly inconsistent. I'll argue with you that the only consistent player, and he has a blip here and a blip there on the radar, but by and large, consistently, DeJounte Murray's been the one guy that you can consistently count on night in, night out. He'll play some good defense. He'll come up with some, he'll create some turnovers. He may be, his scoring numbers, mostly are 20-point games, but, look, he dips a little bit here and there. But he's the one guy who's been fairly consistent. Maybe Clint Capella as well. You don't expect much offensively out of Clint Capella, but you expect him to protect the rim and play some defense. And I'll say that when you look at a Sadiq Bey, okay, we talk about moving on from John Collins and these kinds of players and stuff like that. What if the Hawks decide that this investment isn't worth it? And I don't know how friendly DeAndre Hunter's contract is now at this point, where he's a $23 million player, $23 million a year player right now. Because that's what he's going from $9.9 million up to 21 million. You talk about a big jump, and then he consistently is 22, 23 million dollars a year over the next few years. And again, I'm not picking on him, solely, and he's the reason why that they're not as good or this, that, and the other. But you get these wild waves of inconsistency with DeAndre Hunter. And it's been like that for the majority of the year. He's not been as good a defensive player as what we've thought. He's, his scoring is, like I said, 4 of the last 6 games, 20 plus points. And then you mix in back-to-back games where he had 12 points in total. And that's where this franchise just, like I said, I don't know if it's Nate McMillan. I don't know if he can get the best out of DeAndre Hunter. I don't know what it is. But when you look at the players on this team, they just night in, night out, you don't feel like you know what they're going to give you. You don't feel like and that starting 5, when they're clicking and they're a really good offensive team. When that starting 5 is out there on the court, they can play with anybody in the NBA. They can hang with anybody in the NBA with their starting 5. Their bench, isn't so deep and isn't so good. And that's the thing about, adding a Sadiq Bey and some of those players that they added, Bruno Fernando and guys like that, just to give them more bodies that they can play. But that starting 5 can play with anybody in the league when they're on their game. But the problem is, night in, night out, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if they're going to play good defense. You don't know if they're going to play good offense. You don't know if DeAndre Hunter is going to play well. You don't know if John Collins is going to play well. You don't know if Trae Young's going to have a good shooting night or he's going to bottom out. And this roster, there's something that is flawed about what this roster is. And DeAndre Hunter is just one example, but something has to change with this franchise. Going into the offseason, they'll get through the play-in tournament. Whatever happens, happens. Nate McMillan most likely won't be back. But I think that there's got to be some changes to this roster because they are just wildly inconsistent night in, night out, what you get offensively, what you get defensively. And look, like it or not, DeAndre Hunter is the poster boy for where their inconsistent play is hampering them. 2 nights it's good, 2 nights it's rock bottom, then 2 nights it's good. You can't have that in the NBA. I'm not saying you're going to be on your A game every single night, but you should be able to consistently count on some of your top tier players. Because DeAndre Hunter, let's face it, he's paid like a really good player. When you start getting into $22, $23 million, when you're eating that money up on your salary cap, you're expected that you're going to be a consistently good player, and it's just not happened for DeAndre Hunter. All right, let's talk about my friends over at Built Bar. Listen, Built.com is the place to go. Look, we're trying to get in shape, right? We're looking for those low-calorie, low-sugar, low-carb types of snacks. Well, listen, Built Bar has got you covered with all of their great flavors. Head to Built.com today. They're always coming up with a new flavor for every month, so you can get all of your standards, but you can not only go to Built.com today and get your low-carb, low-calorie, low-sugar snacks with basically 130 calories, 4 grams of net carbs, but a whopping 17 grams of protein in it. But now you can head over and you can go, I should say, to Walmart in the pharmacy section, pick up a box of Built Bars. And you can also go to Sam's Club and pick you up a box of Built Bars. So whether you want to go the traditional route of just you go online and that's where their store is, or if you want to go to a brick and mortar location, you can certainly get over to Built.com. Check them out today, Built.com, or head to Walmart or Sam's Club.